So welcome, folks. This is Diana. We're doing Wisdom and Wine. And I am talking tonight about the art of curiosity and asking questions. And so I just did a webinar on the 17th and the 24th that addressed this. And I kind of wanted to keep the talk going a little bit because I think it is so frigging important, okay? And so, what do I mean, about, like curiously asking questions? Even as I wrote it, I thought, that's an interesting way to put that, but I meant that way. And so after reading, oh gosh, I might have been 16 or 7, I might have been 15, but I love these books, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and wanting to know the answer to life, the universe, and everything else. And, growing up myself, I was in that era of, it's like question authority and had literally question everything, right? And that was the environment. And so being curious, I think part of it's just my innate nature, but being curious is really, really ingrained in me. And so, and kids, we all know kids, right? They are naturally curious. Unless, and I love the way this thing kept me right in the middle of the moon there, Diana and the moon, but kids are naturally curious unless it has been shamed or blamed or beaten out of them, which in my opinion is the highest order of crimes. And yet it's happened to way too many people and to varying degrees for sure. But in one sense, again, to varying degrees, I think it's happened to every single one of us at some point in our lives, whether it was our parent or a teacher or a professor or a peer, or, it has happened, or partner, or all the other ways we don't want it to happen. And so it can be that really subtle, like form of demeaning is like, or that look of, what do you mean you don't know? That, what do you mean you don't know, that kind of look? All the way to verbal abuse or physical, shaming and blaming and punishing. And that is where, that's like punishing somebody else for not following your rules. And I mean that. It's sort of like punishing someone else for not following your rules. And so for a lot of people, it's been completely, this curiosity has been drilled out of them. And I'm really here to tell you and me and everybody that it would be really helpful, as well as incredibly enriching to your whole life, if you brought curiosity back. Seriously, you can do it. I train all my students to be curious. So of course we can all do it, but sometimes we have to train ourselves. We have to bring it back because again, right? So if you think about it, if you were shamed or blamed, I'm fond of saying that we learn things as a 5 and 8 and 10 and 15-year-old that worked maybe or was not good. Maybe we made a bad agreement, like if I speak up, somebody's going to kick me in the ass kind of thing. And so when you're suddenly 35 or 50, it doesn't work so well, and you've gained tools to actually step up, but you've got this niggling voice of that 10-year-old going, wait a minute, I spoke up and I got knocked down. And so that's what I mean about relearning it, because some of us, it's just the truth. And yeah, okay, I'm sorry for the language, but shit happens, right? And we can hold on to that and stay traumatized forever, or we can move and grow and learn. And I'm not saying, that does not mean to say the trauma wasn't real, but it does mean it doesn't have to keep us down forever. It really doesn't. And it's as simple as wondering about somebody else that isn't you. I mean, honestly, that's the key to curiosity. It's wondering about someone or something else that isn't you. And wondering about ourselves has its place. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't, but the art of curiosity to improving relationships has to do with wondering about them, and I'm talking about being curious about others. And so just that one thing, I mean, it really can enrich our lives by making every single one of our relationships deeper and richer on so many levels, seriously. And it is so friggin' simple. And, I don't actually, so if you don't know why somebody said something or didn't say something, it's as simple as ask them. Oh, so I noticed you didn't answer. Do you not have an opinion? Or do you not want to answer? Or did you not hear us? Because Yeah. So, and if you wonder why they did something, ask. It's like, oh, wow, why did you think you did that? Or why did you do that? You ask. It's pretty actually simple, but I'll talk a lot more about that. We have to practice that. And so what we usually do though, and hang on one second, I was supposed to monitor this on Facebook. And I thought I was, but it looks like it froze up. And there it is. And hopefully it's muted. Um, and so basically, what we usually do, what most people usually do, is that we're going to make an assumption, all right, about what we think somebody said or meant or did. We do this all the time. People do this all the time. And it is truly a great and beautiful thing to break yourself completely of that one, right? And so Don Miguel Ruiz made it one of the 4 agreements, right? Don't make assumptions because it's that important and it's that big a problem. And it is something you can learn to do. Okay. I know I still do. I mean, it's like our friggin' minds yearn to think the worst about things. Wish it wasn't. I know for myself, if you're one of those persons that you've been trained to think the best of something, well, then God bless you. Spread and tell people about that. Most people, though, think the worst of somebody. And this is, or some situation. And this destroys more relationships than you can perhaps imagine. And it's all for the one friggin' reason. The simple thing is that people just didn't ask. They didn't ask. So here's an example. And I've seen this happen, actually, it might have been one of my examples, but you're in a store and, way down to the end of an aisle, you see your friend and you wave and, kind of like wave and say hi. And they kind of look up and they keep on walking. And you go, well, what the hell? There went, John, Sue, or Mary, and they're totally ignoring me. And so now you've made up this idea that, and you're getting all in your shit about it. This person is ignoring me. When the truth is, they never even saw you. They looked up the aisle and were looking at an item down the middle of the aisle on the right-hand side. They never looked straight at you. It seemed as if it did. And so now you're all mad and hurt on your friend, but you totally made it up. You made a story up and called it real. And you got to hear me here. You've got to get this one. We all do this all the time. We make stuff up and we call it real. And this is where it's sort of like, oh, hang on a second. I wanted to make a comment about something. Hang on. I lost my track of my notes. This is so funny. Anyway, what it means is this is one of the 4 agreements by Don Miguel. Let me get myself out to the side there. If you look, the 4 agreements are to be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And don't make assumptions is really up there. I mean, seriously, it's really up there. We gotta quit doing this. And so the whole part about seeing the friend in the store and making stuff up, this is what I meant about it being poison. That's like, how's the line go? That you're drinking poison thinking that the other person will get sick or hurt or die. And yet the truth is, it is only sickening us, just us, because we're the ones that made the story up. And unless we act on our story and we get all like real bitchy about it or something and then say stuff to them, if we don't do that, we're the only person affected. They're completely oblivious and they never even did it to start with. Okay, so in our changing times right now, and for all of us older folks that are stuck in the old times, we got to get with the program here. Okay, folks are moving into, thank God, into a greater awareness because they want to, basically, and because it makes sense to expand our awareness, because this world is beginning, to realize that diversity is a blessing and inclusivity is critical. And we need to learn more about other ways and ideas and cultures and open up to the absolute fact that our way isn't the only way. I mean, contrary to what we see on TV, that's a small part, teeny part of the incredible, beautiful hearts of humanity. But we got to get it. Opening up to diversity, opening up to other ways and ways to do things in other cultures. And the absolute fact, our way is not the only way. It's not the only way. And dudes, we all get it, but you got to get it. We are all on this planet together. So it is way past time for us to get along. And better late than never at this point, because our culture is moving in that direction. And if you want to be with the program, we've got to move in that inclusivity and honoring diversity as well. And frankly, one of the absolute best and easiest and most efficient ways to do this is to ask questions, and I mean, ask questions. It's like ask, don't tell, because, so many people that think they're right, they're not going to ask you why you did something or your reasonings behind it. They're going to see it. It's not the way they do it. And then they're going to stop you dead in your tracks and they're going to tell you how to do it right. There goes that blaming again. They're going to tell you where you screwed up, what you need to do to fix it, and you got to do it their way. All right. We've all seen it. It's horrifying. And so many of us do it. Even the most well-intentioned person. I mean, parents are the most challenged people, and teachers are so challenged. But, it's like so many people do this and we need to stop it. And so what I'm sharing here are actually really effective coaching skills that I'm talking about. But really, they are, in my opinion, but granted I'm a coach, but they're just people skills. Okay, they're just people skills. We ask and then we listen. And if we do this, so help me God, if you will do this, some pretty great things start to happen. And again, I had myself all moved out of the way here. So this is just some of the benefits that of just asking questions can give you. We get to learn something that we probably maybe didn't know before. And if nothing else, we get to learn why somebody else thought or acted the way they did, which we didn't know. Might have suspected, didn't know for sure. And you gotta get this, right? Two, we show interest in something that is outside of our friggin' selves. And I mean, hopefully we're doing that we can get our minds off of our self-centered self onto other stuff, other people, other situations, other things going on. Three, the other person sees and believes that we're interested in them, right? Now, I know you can fake this. I'm not talking about that, although you can do that too. Because if we show interest in other people, if we ask them questions, which is the way most people think that we're showing an interest, and hello, dudes, this goes for women, because I mean, I know my mind just flashed on, well, okay, I sent her flowers, and that's really nice. Actions can speak louder than words, but the words are really important. So if the other person's going to see that we're actually speaking and doing these things, they're going to think we're interested in them. And then four, they're going to open up to us even more than they ever have before, because we are showing interest. We're showing we care. And then lastly, they're gonna actually like you more. They're gonna value you more because they feel valued in return. They feel valued and they feel seen and they feel heard. All right. And this really is the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, truly, it's so simple in a sense, but it's the gift that keeps on giving. And so when we learn this skill, when we learn to ask questions, when we employ this one simple coaching skill, and when we actually listen, because here's the deal, we have to listen, to them. And then, if we do that, we can then serve anyone and everyone better. We manage employees better. Heck, I mean, our families, our lovers, partners, kids, everybody will benefit as we employ this one simple skill. And again, I say it's easy because if we've let our ego go, it really is easy. And once we're curious about, like, how on earth that happened? Or why, bless their hearts, they thought that thing, right? And so in the webinar, I shared a story that I'm going to repeat here because I really like it. And it's true. But so 30 years ago, I got a program from Wayne Dyer, and a lot of people really appreciate Wayne Dyer, and it was called The Psychology of Achievement. And in this one program, he employed, that's where I learned this, but he employed a similar process to turn huge companies like Harley Davidson around from near bankruptcy to turning a really big profit again. And Harleys, they're still here. And thanks in part for this trick. And I always thought the Harley Lowrider, oh, do I like that motorcycle? I thought it was the sexiest motorcycle ever. But as I've said, the trick to this is that you drop the ego that's saying it's your way or the highway, pun intended. But you stop thinking that you know it all and that there are no surprises, right? Or that yours is the best or the only way to do something. And then you start asking questions. So what this looks like is even if you think you know the answer, you ask some other people's opinions anyway. Your secretary, the mechanic, salespeople, your kids, teachers, everybody. You ask them what they think about what's going on, right or wrong, and maybe what would fix that. And so you want to ask enough questions of them so that you understand their why, not your why. You want to know their why for what they're doing or saying, or why the business or process or family thing is falling or failing or succeeded. And then you have to actually listen to them. You have to listen to their answers, and you can't just pay them lip service. I mean, that stinks, right? And so knowing the why of what works, what doesn't work, knowing the why of what people are doing and thinking, this alone would solve, oh gosh, 90% of our world's problems. But it only works if we stop thinking we know it all. And then we ask questions and then we listen. And I mean it, this is huge. And it affects every single aspect of life. It really does. So back to Harley Davidson, their executives started talking to the guys in the production lines and listening to the mechanics around the planet and learning what was actually needed versus what some schematic or a page in a book said should work, right? And so it really turned Harley around. And a great side effect that I've already mentioned here was the loyalty from their employees because they were suddenly being heard and valued. Can you imagine? They've probably been witching about it for a long time, but now they're being heard and their support or their ideas are being implemented, right? So they're suddenly heard and valued. And then their customers are all getting happy because Harley worked out those annoying kinks, right, that the bikes had had. And so, as I've said, the process is really simple and it works with everybody, your kids, your family partners, friends, colleagues, even bosses in a sense. And so to get practice, it's really simple. Start asking questions. Ask the grocery clerks, Ask the folks you encounter. Hey, how you doing today? Or how's the day going? Or when do you get a break? You look a little tired there. Or is this, a good place to work or a good place to go? Or have you ever been to this restaurant? And it's just simple questions, but you're practicing. See, that's the thing. Most people run around in their little heads thinking about themselves. we're trying to get ourselves off of us onto something else. And so if you're catching this or catching this later, and you're one of those people that thinks in absolutes, well, it is true that not everybody wants you to know them better, all right? Or thinks that you're safe enough, truthfully, that you're safe enough at first to even begin to open up for you. But if you're consistent, you're going to wear them down over time, but here's another point. You have to find it in yourself to actually be curious and not just using the questions as a way to get them under your thumb. Okay. People they read our hearts, they read our energy, they read our intent. So when I say put the ego aside, I really mean it, and when I say really get curious, I mean that too. I really do, because people are going to pick it up. And I honestly, I used to use that as a tactic. And then it bit me in the butt, lay down the road. But I used to control conversations by asking people questions, which got them talking, which meant that I didn't have to talk, which for me, when I was a controller, it also meant that I knew more about that person than they did about me. Now, why I thought that was a virtue, I really don't know, but hey, live and learn, and I've learned. But that's one way using it can not feel legitimate to the others. And so if you're also a person that just can't put your ego aside, well, I mean it, you're going to have to practice. You practice this on people that aren't so triggering for you at first, or that don't challenge you so hard at first. And then you kind of move up the scale of difficulty ladder until you can pretty much apply this to everybody, unless you have to halt. Okay. And so this is a slide that I give my students. If you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, or triggered, stop. Just, you're overwhelmed. If that's happening, you need to take a walk, take a break, take a breather, eat, take a nap, maybe go on a run, because you are in no state of mind to do anything I'm talking about right now, or anything actually, or at least not do anything effectively. And so please understand, you got to get this, that the benefits of asking questions arising out of genuine, real curiosity will help you. Oh my, I mean, I'm serious. I wouldn't be spending all this time talking to you about it. It helps you tremendously, and it can change your relationships. It can change your relationships. People will see that you care about them, and they'll often care about you in return. They really will. And so we can all develop a world of caring and honoring, and it starts with you. It starts with you, it starts with me. And so if we practice what I'm like putting down here, it's going to ripple out. It will ripple out and can change the world. It will ripple out around the world. And I mean that with all my heart. And so this looks like we're going to have a short time tonight for Wisdom and Wine, but I do want to also share. I'm going to check and see if my Facebook will actually work for me. But well, folks, not my fault. Doesn't look like it's supposed to monitor. It's not really working quite well, and I apologize. I'll come back to it later. So put any questions in it. But Artists of the Spirit is a place to learn a lot of these skills and more. I mean, basically, I train life, energy, and spiritual coaches, and it's a great program. I've been doing it. I'm in my 9th year. I'll start my 10th year. There, I get to be in the middle of it again, and it's really not letting me get rid of myself. But it's a brilliant program. I believe in it with all my heart. And this is a place that you will learn different tools, all the tools I'm sharing with you, but the why of it and even more. I mean, you'll learn the different strategies that people use in their lives to survive. Okay, so, some people might find it hard in a sense to ask questions because I mentioned at the very beginning, maybe they've been blamed or shamed or, in pretty big or small ways. One of the concepts that I guess I really like a lot from the Toltec tradition is that when we're young, well, and early childhood development proves this, but when we're young, we develop beliefs and agreements. And those can go, when we practice them a long time, they'll go underground. So we make those agreements and beliefs to stay safe. Events happen, things happen to us, and kids are just trying to get along and survive, right? And so we make agreements and beliefs that work when we're at that age, all right? 5, 8, 10, 3 even. But they don't work so well at 15, 25, 35, or 45 and older. And so part of what we need to do and learn in life is to understand what those agreements are, and then the strategies that we use as kids to work with that, and then how to work our way out of it so we can actually be living in our integrity instead of in our strategy. And what we talk about are 4 strategies of pleaser, isolator, controller, and distractor. And I know I'm recovering. I still do it sometimes. I'm not perfect yet, dang on it. But I was a controller pleaser. Like I was primarily, actually as a younger, I was a pleaser with a controller wing, kind of like the Enneagram. And so I would make everybody happy so I could keep them, they're happy, right? This is how I'm controlling my situation. So I can go do what the heck I want. Because if I've made them happy, one, they're going to be doing their thing and they're happy. And that leaves me a lot of leeway to then control the situation to my advantage. And that actually took me a long time to realize that. And it's not such a hard one well, depends on how much work you do for yourself. But, Artists of the Spirit is really around supporting you, because I really harp on do the work on yourself for yourself first, so that you get it in your bones, you get it experientially. And that is where that's where it all lies, folks. The stuff we get. That's why some of the more negative stuff lives inside of us as well, because we got it in our bones. And now some of it, we got to get out of our friggin' bones. And we can't really do that without some kind of a support or some kind of framework or the tools that help you to see how to look into it. And Brooklyn said, hi, hello, Brooklyn, back. And so really, everything I've talked about today is just around asking the questions. And, I have Artists of the Spirit, coachtraining.org. Not real sure I can do that right at the moment. Sorry, I got too many screens going. But if you go to Artists of the Spirit, coachtraining.org, up in the top right, About Us has a whole list of people, not all of them, but a bunch of my students that are graduates. Get some help, get some coaching. Hell, come take the class, become a coach yourself. All of these things, they work, and we know they work. And so again, that's what it's called. It's Artists of the Spirit, and it's Artists of the Spirit coachtraining.org will get you there. And so blessings to everyone. Thank you, Brooklyn, for saying hi. And I just wish you all the best. And I'll be here, down the road and not too far on another Wisdom and Wine. So until then, be well.